definitely feels like it's been a while since I just made a video where there was no set plan. I just come on and quite frankly answer some questions you guys have and talk in general. There's no LCS going on right now and things are kind of slow, so why not use this time to connect with you all a little bit more. First thing I do want to say is thank you for 700 subscribers. It really has been amazing to see how quickly this stuff has kind of grown. I mean, TikTok has kind of been there for a while now for me, but trying to make a transition to YouTube to a certain extent has not been easy. I mean, I've got a whole list of ideas, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not like out of shit to talk about, and won't be for a long time, especially as LCS comes back, and then it's literally just talking about that the majority of the time for me, or at least on the weekends. It's 100 Thieves plays, but I don't know. It's been fun, and with Gov Ball coming up next week too, there's a lot of other content that I got coming up that's going to be fun to make. But we're here for your questions first and foremost. So I put out on Twitter and said, hey, it's raining, I'm not going to be able to talk about it. Well, as you can see, it's still kind of raining, but it's not ultimately that bad. So I'm walking to go meet a friend for dinner and figured I'd answer your questions. Jeffrey asked, where did I get my dance moves? And the answer is I have no freaking clue. Dude, my dancing is bad. Jeffrey knows because Jeffrey's one of the people that goes clubbing with me and sees me in the dance clubs. I'm not gonna say that I know how to move my hips all that well. I just feel like I have a decent rhythm, and that's the important part. Everything else you do from there is kind of irrelevant as long as you're just having a good time and not being obnoxious with it. So, honest answer, dude, I can't even dance all that well. I just know how to move my hips in a rhythmic manner. Connor asked, what small town am I from? And anybody that's from a small town knows exactly what I'm about to do. So I'm originally from a town called Enola, Pennsylvania, which spelled backwards is alone. It's a weird town right on the edge of Harrisburg. But the problem is that I just tell people Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And then even people don't know that because people don't know that Harrisburg is the capital of Pennsylvania. Yes, our geography in America is not the greatest. So then I just say Hershey because everybody's heard of Hershey chocolate, which is about, give or take, I think 25 minutes away. I used to work for Hershey Country Club growing up, or at least as my first internship in college. And it was about a 25-minute commute, so long as there was nothing really going on. Enola was weird because you were kind of in the middle of everything, but yet not anywhere at the same time. Harrisburg's not a big city, so don't let anybody trick you into thinking that just because you're from the Harrisburg area that you have more people around you. It's really not. The important part is you are 3 hours away from Pittsburgh, 2 hours away from Baltimore, 2 hours away from Philly, 2.5 from New York City, and that's where you ended up going if you had any sports tournaments, stuff like that. But growing up in a small town was honestly kind of nice. It let you, I don't know, just kind of learn without the pressure of like the big city and everything else on you at all times, which is going to be something that my kids are probably going to have to deal with, given that we're probably going to live in New York City forever, more or less. Not in the city, obviously, in like the suburbs of Long Island, stuff like that, but I don't know. I always throw out the trivia fact that Scump went to the high school next to me, so I went to East Pennsboro High School. He went to Cumberland Valley, which is about 10 minutes away, give or take. And yeah, I can't really complain. Honestly, it was a nice area. Lacked diversity, for outside of Harrisburg itself, but that's the nature of any suburban town that's not near a major city in the United States. It's like that. Khan asked, what New York City sitcom best represents life in New York? And the answer, honestly, is it depends. Your individual experience in the city is going to depend on a lot of different factors. Like, I'll sit here and be honest with you, my life is not necessarily resemblant to any of those shows because I don't have that big group of friends like How I Met Your Mother and Friends have, quite frankly. So it's a different experience for me and Emily kind of trying to traverse the city, more or less just the two of us. Obviously we have friends, but like it's not what shows make it out to be. Now obviously like the social life of New York City, going out, doing all that stuff, that's very well represented in all of the series. But if I had to pick one, it would probably be How I Met Your Mother because I feel like I can relate to Marshall a lot. The guy who wants to follow passion, but ultimately is still in corporate America because the money's there and you kind of have to do it. Like I couldn't take a job that pays less than what I make right now because of choices that I made early on in my life with going to college where I did. So you have this expectation that you do have to make a certain amount of money for us to be able to live even comfortably. And even then, like you see all these TikTok videos on YouTube or on TikTok or Instagram of people like the perfect day in New York City, and they go out and spend like $250 on a single day. And the truth of the matter is, we personally have $150 a week to spend for all of our meals and everything else that we do. Obviously, everything else is covered. We have a very small social budget that we can do whatever we want with per month for the two of us, but like, that's it. We got $150. So all these people going out to these fancy places and shit like that, that's not life. It's really not. Also, the appeal of a lot of those shows is being young and single in New York City. And I've been married to Emily literally the entire time that we've been here in New York City. So that's why Marshall connects with me more. When he came to New York past college, or at least was like living the adult life in New York past college, he was with Lily the entire time. And that is something that personally I feel really deeply connected to, and something that I can relate to on a very individual level. And no, Emily's never left me nor gone to San Francisco to pursue an art career. She's got all of her arts here, luckily. Before Ryan gets here, let me show you the place that we picked to eat, which is just like a spur of the moment type thing. So we're gonna be eating at Carla, which is a random spot on 51st, and literally just has this van outside of it, and then obviously like goes down in as well.
2 hours later.
That was great. That was a phenomenal dinner. I would rate that probably like 9 out of 10. And if you guys want to see more like food reviews as I do these types of videos, just let me know. But we've got more questions to get to. I'm a glass of wine in, so I'm going to be a little bit more open and honest for the remainder of this video, and we might as well walk back on a very beautiful and busy Friday night here in New York City. It rained earlier, but now it's just perfect out, like literally perfect temperature, perfect everything. Both Molnir and Ian want to know about my upbringing in gaming and what I want to pursue in esports, so I figure I'll tackle these kind of all together in one. So I've been playing games since I was little, like PlayStation 1 with my dad, Hot Shots, Golf, Croc, you name it. In addition to that, Game Boy Advance, because I loved Pokemon growing up, like just pretty standard for most people my age and like how you got into gaming if you got into it as a kid. It evolved into the Xbox 360 and Call of Duty. Call of Duty then got me into esports later in 2013 with Call of Duty Ghost. I was a little bit late to getting into that wave, unfortunately, despite playing game battles since Call of Duty Modern Warfare back in 2007. So like, I'm peeved that I didn't like fully get into esports until later in time and I just missed it, but I don't know. I always enjoyed playing games with my dad. But then at a certain point, my dad ended up buying a restaurant when I was like 12 or 13, which is a really complicated story. And I just started playing games by myself at that point, which became Call of Duty, which I made groups of friends with and just enjoyed, I don't know, playing the game casually. And once I got into college, still played it casually, met Emily, kind of took a little bit of a break from video games, but then got back into it as our relationship was a little bit more like, you know, you get past that initial like really like dedicate everything to your partner type phase and you start to rediscover your own interests. I rediscovered gaming again, and that's when I got into esports. Now, in terms of when I decided I wanted to get into esports, I technically asked that question when I was in high school. I looked at like how to work at like Activision Blizzard at the time, because they were really the only company, well, Activision only at the time. And I don't know, I never really pursued it necessarily. Like my mom always said, because my mom and my dad would always say, you know, you play so many damn video games that unless you're gonna work in it, get off the games and go outside and do shit like that. Which, fair, I wish I would have taken that advice earlier and maybe gone to college and like more directed my path into esports, but I unfortunately didn't. Ooh, live music. Sorry, when I start to drink a little bit, I get distracted by everything, like literally everything. But when I wanted to get into esports began realistically in 2014 with my sophomore and junior year of college. I was working in the golf industry, realized that wasn't where I wanted to work long term. As much as I loved playing golf, I didn't want to work in it full time. Whereas gaming, I love gaming and I would love to, especially on the esports side, get involved with the teams, because I grew up in the sports environment and working front office for sports was also like a back of thought, wouldn't that be cool type of thing. So I pivoted my degree from marketing to accounting and figured, okay, there's realistically not much in North Carolina, and I ultimately knew my future would be here in New York City because Emily very clearly wanted to aspire to Broadway. So it was like, okay, what career field can I do that works in New York City that might get me to gaming at some point in time? So I'd swapped to accounting and figured, okay, well, I'll go the business route. I could get in, be maybe not necessarily a Steve. We don't know where the industry will be at that time. Ooh, gotta run. But maybe that's the way. So got my full accounting degree, went to grad school up here in New York to make sure that I could usher a pathway to us in New York City. Sat for the CPA exam, passed all the parts. I still haven't applied for my license. It's still like in limbo, but I haven't really needed it for anything given that I'm not directly going accounting. But then that was the path. The goal always was get my degree, go into business, which I went into public accounting, and then started shifting towards media with the goal that at one point I would eventually work my way into esports from the media side. So like general business and public audit, CBS, Peloton with the consumer goods, Disney, so back to media again, and eventually hoping that that would one day turn into esports. I never really thought that the content route was something that was going to be realistic, but then in 2020 when COVID hit, everything shut down. There was the worry that, oh, I just never get into gaming at this point because the whole world's going away, so I might as well talk about it. If I am passionate about it, enjoy it, why not talk about it? While you have personalities like Dom, like LS, like Thorin, like Monte Cristo, that we're all involved in the scene in some sort of like high level point of view, there was no Skip Bayless or Stephen A. Smith that like weren't ever like peak performance players that just have a true passion for it and love talking about it. So that was the angle that I figured I could take. And honestly, it's kind of worked out. Sure, I'm not in esports right now, but I just landed my first sponsorship with Verizon. Things seem like they're trending upwards in all accounts. I'm not saying I'll eventually make it as a content creator. I'm never assuming that. I'm assuming that I'll be, working in corporate America for an extended period of time. But I don't know. Maybe this is an actual avenue or pathway that I can keep working towards and keep grinding towards. Because I'll tell you this: when I'm dedicated and committed to something, very few people that can outdo me on that, in my opinion. When I commit to something and I want to do it, I'm going to do it. I haven't missed a TikTok upload in the 2 years that I've been doing it. I set a consistent YouTube schedule at the beginning of the year. Been very solid and thorough with that. I don't know. When you tell me that I got to do something and I got to put my nose to the ground and just do it, I get it done. And that's where I feel like, I don't know, maybe it could work out as a content creator. Who knows? But at the end of the day, I do want to get involved on the team side. And it sucks to see, the current state of everything on with teams, both in the LCS and outside of that. But that's still the goal for me. I don't want to be, I wouldn't mind being with the developer on managing the LCS, commissioner style there. I think the teams would be more entertaining because I want to be able to lift that trophy in part by actions that I have personally done. Speaking of which, that's actually going to be Monday's video because somebody asked me how I would build out my own esports team as a content creator if I chose to do that. And I'm going to give you that exact plan and what I would do on Monday. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed the quick Q&A, a little bit behind the scenes of my life, and we'll get back to more direct League of Legends stuff pretty soon. Be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you guys enjoy this type of content and want to see more of it. I'm hoping to, maybe at some point I can just do New York City and life videos outside of gaming, but for right now I need to pound my niche and keep it that. So that's it. Hope you all enjoyed. Catch you on the next video. Adios.